This is a track guide to Calder Park Raceway in Melbourne, Victoria. So Calder Park has a lot of history. It not only has a racetrack, it's actually hosted the Australian Grand Prix, it's hosted NASCAR, and it has a built-in drag strip, so quite an unusual circuit. But today we're just going to be looking at the road circuit. So this is Calder Park Raceway, the national circuit, 2.2 kilometres, 10 corners. That's where the entrance is, that's where the pits is, that's the oval not used, and that is the circuit which goes in a clockwise direction. Now here's turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, 2 and 3 are chicane. Then we've got 4 and 5, also another chicane, and we've got 6, 7 and a kink to the right for 8, all in quick succession. 9 is to turn onto the straight, but there's also 10 as well. This is the car we're going to be using. It's a 2012 Lotus Elise S, supercharged, about 180 kilowatts, weighs a bit under a tonne with me in it, and it's a 6-speed manual. So we start our lap down the main straight, which is nearly 1 kilometre in length, or getting up to half the total length. When we get to this bit here, a couple of cautions. First of all, the track narrows, as you can see ahead, so you need to be where I'm positioned on the track. And then the second point is that this area here, it's downhill and it's bumpy and there's a big braking zone. Then we're coming into turn 1. So let's take a look at turn 1, and this is my line through turn 1. It actually should be a little bit further north of that, but the GPS map hasn't quite worked out exactly. Anyway, what you want to be doing here is considering what the exit is going to be looking like, and you've got a very short, almost no straight at all, 50-metre turn, 50-metre run before you're turning and braking again. So what that means is that in this corner, turn 1, you want to minimise the time in the corner, not worry about the corner exit speed too much, because you want to be saving time through the corner as opposed to down the consequent straight, because there really isn't a consequent straight. And if we look at a classic late apex line here, you can see that the late apex line is quite a bit longer. You're going to have to slow the car more to rotate it, and then you're not going to make that time up down the straight. Now turn 2 and 3 are interesting because not only is it chicane, but it goes up a hill. So what you want to be doing is compromising turn 2 a little bit, turning in tighter, and pretty much looking for more or less a straight line to turn 3, and looking to get onto power where I've got that red arrow at the moment. And then on the exit of turn 3, there's a bit of concrete you can use, again trying to minimise those steering inputs. Use the full width of the road going through turn 2 and turn 3, but straight lining 2 and 3. And curbs, yeah, I generally avoid the curbs in road cars. They tend to destabilize it too much, and probably going to get a traction loss, and particularly so in the wet. Now coming out of turn 3, this is where it gets interesting, because we've actually got an uphill here followed by a downhill, and we're trying to turn the car, get the car from the right side of the track to the left side of the track exactly as we crest the top of the hill, which is why high powered cars have traction problems, and it's also a little bit bumpy as well. So here's what it looks like as a data trace. Now the interesting thing here, that's the uphill. Notice the angle of the that graph there, which is relatively low. At the downhill part, look, I'm actually accelerating quicker, although I'm travelling faster, which doesn't normally happen, and that's due to the effect of the hill. Now turn 4 and 5 is a fairly fast chicane. First off, you need to get the car all the way over to the left as it comes down the hill. There's not a lot of time to do it, but there is time. Then, because this is a fast chicane, it's not a slam the brakes on, it's brush brakes, settle the car, lift. I would generally beware of the curbs in a road car. You might do yourself more harm than good going over them, but see how you go. And the Google Maps images does need a little bit of updating for modern day. Now, you want to be aiming to accelerate out of turn 5, or really the exit of turn 4, entry of turn 5, as opposed to braking all the way through to get yourself a nice good run down the straight. Now, beware of the rough exit. If you need to run wide into the grass, then do so. Try not to do that, obviously. But if you do run wide, don't wrestle the car straight back onto the track, because that way is surely likely to be a disaster. Now for turn 6, that's a nice easy braking zone in the straight. Then you're looking for the shortest path to turn 7. Don't go all the way out to the right. When you enter turn 7, just go shortest path, and you tend to hug the corner. Keep it on the inside. It's a long corner, but you want to get power on as early as you can and straight line it through turn 8. And then from turn 8, you essentially take a diagonal line to the left side of the track for turn 9 entry. You don't need to leap over to the left-hand side immediately. Take a diagonal line up to turn 9 entry. So turn 9 is interesting, and there's also turn 10, although I don't really understand why. The line I take here is unusual, but it's possible because the corner opens out so much. So I take a very early apex, and I'm on the power where I've got this red arrow here according to my data trace. Now I do let the car run wide there, full throttle at this point, using the full width of the track on exit, trying to minimise steering input. You've got to get the car all the way over to the left anyway, so you may as well just let it run wide at that point. And there is a traction change at the drag strip, so beware of that, especially in the wet. Now this is your classic late apex line, which you'd normally use for a corner like this, but not, I don't think, in this case, because it opens out so much. So why do you want a late apex line classically? Well, it's not actually any shorter. Yes, it is shorter on the exit, but on the entry you've got to go deeper, and requires the car to slow. You're turning it through a greater arc, and that means you've got to go slower, and you're not going to get onto power really any earlier, in fact potentially even later. So I much prefer my line as opposed to the classic late apex here. finally, here's my data traces from an early 110 lap to a 108 towards the end of the day. If you want to see more, head over to my website, l2sfbc.com, Calder Park. And thank you for watching. Any questions, please use the comment section.